Hello, young men, and this is our substitute for snow day. Yay. I want you guys, before next week, to take some time and read all of Acts chapter 9. That's talking about Paul, who they're still referring to as Saul at this point, and kind of talking about his conversion, which is really where we're going to start in our discussion with who Paul was. And this is really setting up like all of the Pauline epistles, all the letters that Paul wrote to the churches, the Roman church, the church at Philippi, the church at Ephesus, the church at Corinth. We read these and they tell us how to live our lives letters. They were all written for a specific reason, for a specific set of events and things happening at all these churches. So one thing we really want to focus on in this class is learning what was going on and why Paul was writing these things. Like, why was he saying these specific things to all these different churches? Why was he talking so much about loving each other to the people of Corinth? Why was he rebuking so many people in the church of Rome? We want to understand why, and we want to understand how we can apply that to our lives in this day and age, because America isn't the church of Rome. It isn't the church in Corinth. It is different, but all this stuff is still applicable to us, and we want to learn how that is and why that is. So as you're reading Acts 9, there's a couple things I want you all to kind of keep in your mind. This is really talking about the beginning of Saul's conversion, which was he was a Jew, and he was persecuting Jesus. And in fact, he was one of the witnesses to Stephen's stoning, and shortly after, this is after Jesus ascended to heaven, Jesus talks to Paul. He appears to Paul as a bright light, and he says, "Why do you persecute me?" And at the time, Saul wasn't necessarily persecuting Jesus literally. He was persecuting the people who were following Jesus. And the key distinction I want you all to kind of remember here as you read forward is Christ is associating his followers and him as like the same group, right? It wasn't Saul going after Jesus. Saul was going after the people who followed Jesus, his disciples. And Jesus says, these are one and the same. You persecute them, you're persecuting me. So keep that in mind as you're kind of reading through this. And then the other thing to kind of think about, and this goes to show to the intentionality of Christ, when he appears to Saul, there's two men with him. And the two men with him hear Christ's voice, but they don't see the bright light that Saul falls down and bows down to. And that kind of really goes to show that, this was Christ for Saul. This wasn't necessarily for everybody else. He intentionally sought him out and was, you're persecuting, you're killing my people. You and me are gonna do something about this. And this is where Saul becomes blind and is led by these two people. And this is on the road to Damascus, where he was charged with go and kill disciples. So as we lead up into next week, hopefully there's no crazy weather or anything that prevents us from all meeting up. I want you guys to all read Acts 9 and really think about that as you're reading it. Think about the fact that, Christ says, you persecute my people, you persecute me. He's standing up for his people. He is for them. He is saying, hey, I've got your back. And kind of think about, as you read this, through that lens. Think about that. And then really, as he gets to the point of meeting Christ in the bright light, think about how, it was Christ to him specifically. There was other people around, but they didn't witness it and experience it the same way that Saul did. So read these couple things. We'll touch on this a little bit. I'll give you a little bit more backstory about like who Paul was, Paul Saul. And we will move on with one of the letters, and we'll start talking about probably Philippians, maybe. I like Philippians because there's one verse that everybody loves. The whole, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, through a verse taken wildly out of context. So that's what we're going to talk about next week. Hope to see all you guys. Enjoy your snow day. Get out there and play. Be safe. Love you guys. We will see you next time.